Hi, and welcome to a very special Twitch Talk.
56 years ago tonight, a new kind of magic was unleashed on the world. And the magic has never stopped.
Happy 56th anniversary.
Happy 56th anniversary, Bewitched.
Happy 56th.
Cheers.
What Serena feels, Samantha will too.
Okay, who's the wise guy?
Poor Samantha. This time she's the object of one of Endora's spells. Things go awry in Endora's attempt to make Samantha see what she's been missing when she casts a spell to make her feel everything that Serena feels. What could possibly go wrong? Hi, I'm Mark Simpson.
And I'm David Pierce.
And I'm Adam Michael James. Welcome to Twitch Talk.
Hi, this is Richie Carnegie from Richmond, Virginia, wishing Bewitched a happy 56th anniversary.
Tonight we'll be discussing Season 7, Episode number 211, The Corsican Cousins. The episode was written by Ed Jurist from an original story by Bernard Slade. It was directed by Richard Michaels and produced by William Asher. Additions to the cast include Barbara Morrison as Mrs. Langley, Ann Doran as Mrs. Hunter, Robert Walders as Clark, and a brief appearance by Jerry Rush as Dancer. And we'll start off with the official Screen Gems episode description. Now keep in mind that these descriptions are often written from an early draft of the script and may contain inaccuracies from the final draft, and also in this case some character names that have been changed. Originally Mrs. Langley was Mrs. Nichols, and Mrs. Hunter was Mrs. Raphael. Darren is after the Bigelow Industries account. Mr. Nichols, president of the firm, is a social snob whose business relations unalterably are linked to public relations. In other words, if Nichols or his wife doesn't like you socially, you can count on not getting their account. On the home front, Endora, in her usual unmotherly manner, casts a spell on Samantha. It links Sam's thoughts and words with cousin Serena's. What Serena says, Samantha says, and likewise for actions. Darren is confused by his wife's madness, especially during a surprise visit by Mrs. Nichols. The unexpected social call is obviously espionage. The situation worsens when Larry, who just happens to be in the neighborhood, calls on the Stevens in a kind of counter-espionage. Samantha is at her worst as Serena's antisocial no-nos periodically invade Sam's normally acceptable social etiquette. Mrs. Nichols and her society sidekick, Mrs. Raphael, can hardly wait to leave the Stevens household. Larry realizes that with the ladies leaving, the advertising account goes with them. Darren is also on the way out of the company, that is, until Larry later discovers that Mr. Nichols is discovered to be associated with the underworld. In scaring off the Bigelow account, Samantha has saved Darren's company's reputation and, incidentally, his job. And the log line reads, Endora's spell forces Samantha to play Simon Says with Cousin Serena. So now let's go to David for some historical information on the episode, as well as some other current events of the day.
Thank you, Mark. The Corsican Cousins is the 211th episode of the series and the 11th episode of the 7th season. Production completed on September 3rd, 1970, and the episode originally broadcast on ABC television on December 10th, 1970. Here are a few historical fun facts about that date. A nationwide strike of the United States Railroad workers began at 12:01 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, while the U.S. Senate was meeting after midnight in order to join the House of Representatives in approving legislation to halt the walkout. Lee Iacocca became the new president of the Ford Motor Company by the U.S. Automobile Manufacturers Board of Directors. Try saying that 10 times fast. The number one song was Tears of a Clown by Smokey Robinson and the Miracles, and the number one movie at the box office was The Owl and the Pussycat starring Barbra Streisand. Now we'll turn things over to Mike for some continuity issues. Take it away, Mike.
Thank you, David. Continuity. That's what we're about over here, and this episode does have some points to ponder. The first one being how Endora is able to connect Samantha and Serena. The show has played very fast and loose with whether or not witches can exert power over one another. The only explanation I could think of is that 2 episodes prior in Samantha's Pet Warlock, when Samantha was able to change Ashley Flynn into a dog, Darren asked her, how can you do that to a warlock? And she said, I caught him by surprise. So I'm assuming that Endora caught Samantha by surprise here. The other interesting thing is that Darren immediately assumes that Endora has put a spell on Samantha. And I don't know why, because she's only ever done that once in Turn On the Old Charm. So, again, not quite sure where he got that one from. Look at the witch confession at the very end. I'm married to a witch. So nonchalant, like it's no big deal. It's huge! But also, Larry really should be cluing in, because this is not the first confession that Darren has made to him. He did it in first season, and that was my wife. And Larry has certainly seen a lot of strange things since then to be able to put together that there's something supernatural going on. And how come the Witches' Council didn't lower the boom here? They did that when Samantha told Phyllis she was a witch and Samantha's secret is discovered. Also, what I'm wondering is, within this Corsican spell, how is making Samantha dance and feel Serena's emotions supposed to entice her to go back to the witch world? I'm not seeing much of a reason there. It just makes Samantha do weird things. It doesn't really, it doesn't really serve Endora's purpose. And finally, I have to actually read this one out of the big book because I can't summarize it. It has to do with the business dealings. This episode's boy, are we glad we avoided that crooked client finale, also used in If They Never Met and the Generations app, creates a lot of corporate confusion. Early on, Samantha asks Darren why Langley is running Bigelow's company. Darren replies there's a rumor that Langley bought up Bigelow's stock in a hostile takeover. Samantha alludes to this in her tipsy tattling to Mrs. Langley. By episode's end, Larry's relieved they're no longer associated with Langley because he just heard about the swindle on the radio and claims it will be front page stuff. But how could any client's shady business dealings within his own company hurt the agency one way or the other? And Darren knows about the rumor from the beginning, so presumably Larry does too. Yet he continues buttering up the Langleys as if he doesn't. Maybe something was cut from the script, because the show doesn't usually go from point A to point C without going through point B. That's all I got for now. For now? I can't talk. Mark, you try.
Thanks, Mike. Now let's take a quick break, and then we'll bring in the panel and discuss the Corsican Cousins. We'll be right back.
Hello, I'm Eru from Tokyo, Japan. I started to watch Bewitched because my mom... because my mom told me to watch. We'd like to wish a very happy 56th anniversary to Bewitched. Samantha, 愛してる!
Twitch Talk will be back in a moment.
And now, Twitch Talk brings you a very special, bewitching announcement.
Don't mind me. I just had to change back before I got towed away. Nothing. Hey, Bewitched fans, it's me, Adam Michael James, and if you have been online at all the last couple of years, you know that I am the author of the Bewitched Continuum, the ultimate linear guide to the show, and also I, Samantha, Take This Mortal Darren, my imagined series finale.
She just loves happy endings.
Now that's exactly what I, Sam, was supposed to be when I wrote it. The end. Only thing is, Samantha and Darren and Adam and Tabitha and Endora and Larry, even Serena, Arthur, and Clara all decided that they had more that they wanted to say.
I don't know.
So who might argue? I'm proud to announce right here in this bathtub, Samantha's 70s, 7 supernatural sagas of the Stevens doing the dazzling days of disco. Starting in 1973 and going all the way up to 1979, Samantha's 70s starts where I, Sam, left off, where the mortals in Samantha's world are dealing with the repercussions of finding out that she's a witch. Then Aunt Clara gets a backstory and a twin as a result of her first witch illness. Then the Stevens might be having another baby. But are they ready for it? That brings us to 1976, where our mortals celebrate the bicentennial, while our witches explore their attitude toward mortals in a story that really needs to be told today. And they grow up so fast, Tabitha jumps to a 25-year-old in a purposeful nod to the Tabitha series. Not to be outdone, our witches and mortals come together for their very first Christmas ever, and finally wedding bells ring across the atmospheric continuum for a surprise couple that may not be a surprise if you read Isam.
And who would that be?
I have been having so much fun revisiting all our beloved Bewitched characters, and I have a feeling that you will too. Samantha's 70s, October 17th.
I think it's terrific.
At 10:17 p.m. Eastern that night, 7:17 p.m. Pacific, I will be having a virtual book launch and reading on my Facebook page, facebook.com/BWContinuum. Keep checking back for details. I can't wait to see you guys. Excuse me. I have to go dry off. What are you waiting for? Mark your calendars for October 17th and soak in the magic of my new book, Samantha's 70s.
Hi, this is Gene from Queens, New York. Happy 56th anniversary, Bewitched. Keep twitching!
And now, back to Twitch Talk.
Well, welcome back to Twitch Talk. And we've brought our panel in right now. And so we're going to go through and we're going to have everybody introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about yourselves. So we'll start. I'll start with me. I'm Mark. I'm in Tacoma, Washington. I am the organizer of the Bewitched Fanfare events, and I run the Facebook pages and groups. And I have been a Bewitched fan ever since I was about 5 or 6 years old. So now, how about David?
Thanks. I'm David Pierce from Salt Lake City, Utah. I'm the author of the Bewitched history book. I've been a Bewitched fan. I just remember watching it when I came home from kindergarten with my mom, so it's been a really long time.
Okay. And how about Mike?
Hello, all. I am Adam Michael James. I am the author of The Ultimate Linear Guide, The Bewitched Continuum, and Imagined Series Finale, I, Samantha, Take This Mortal Darren. I live in Stratford, Prince Edward Island, which is in Canada. Go up to Maine and turn right. And I first discovered Bewitched when I was 8 years old. That was 1977. Shag carpets, y'all.
Okay. So let's move on to the panel. So how about Max?
Hey, I'm Max. I'm a teacher in the West Midlands in the United Kingdom. So that makes me British. I've been a fan since I was about 7 or 8 years old, which is a long time ago, and I just love it. Always have, always will, and I just watch it as much as I can.
Great. June.
Hi, my name is June. I'm from Mercer Island, Washington, and I've been a fan since I was a little girl, and now I love watching it just for nostalgia. It's just wonderful.
Anna.
Hi, my name is Anna Bergman. I live in Vallejo, California. I discovered Bewitched as an adult during a really difficult time in my life. And so Bewitched was just a bright spot. I could put those DVDs on, it was back then, and laugh and completely forget about my life.
Very cool. And Nivelle.
Hey guys, my name is Nivelle. I'm from Penns Grove, New Jersey, and I started watching Bewitched when I was 5. I just got home from kindergarten, and it was on my local Fox station, and I just fell in love with Elizabeth Montgomery. She was just absolutely fantastic in the role, and I loved everything about the show and her antics on the show, so I now watch it as an adult. It's great.
Cool. Justin.
I'm Justin. I'm from Atlanta. I've been a Bewitched fan ever since I can remember. I remember watching it when I was a really little kid, and I still watch it today. My favorite episode is Samantha's wedding present.
Okay, and Susan.
I'm Susan from Atlanta, Georgia. I started watching Bewitched when I was a little girl, and it was in the original run. So probably when I was like 1966, 67. And I've been watching it ever since. And I love it. It has been very formative.
You and I are probably the only two here that remember it from its original run. So you and I
are geezers.
we're the old ones.
Yeah, the wise ones.
Yeah, there you go.
The elders.
How about Taylor?
Hi, I'm Taylor. I'm a professor at the University of Georgia. And to borrow from Endora, I'm Quicksilver and I live in the sparkle. AKA Athens, Georgia.
All right, so today we're going to be talking about my second favorite episode, which is the Corsican Cousins. So does everybody have their Witch's Joy juice?
Yes, I do.
Who doesn't have their Witch's Joy juice?
Nivelle.
Demerit. That's a demerit for Nivelle. Hepzibah is not happy.
You get one demerit.
Poor Hepzibah.
So we're gonna start off, and I'm gonna have David give a brief description of the episode.
So this episode finds Endora casting a spell on Serena based on the Corsican brothers story that causes Samantha to feel whatever Serena does, and this happens at the most inopportune time as Samantha is supposed to meet with client Mr. Langley's wife and people from another country club that she doesn't really want to join, but Darren's doing it for business, and insanity ensues.
Okay, so I hope everyone is familiar with the episode. So we're going to go through now, and we're going to get each of you to just kind of give your comments. I guess maybe if you noticed any bloopers or any continuity issues or anything like that, or any questions that you have. So let's go through. Let's start with Max.
Okay, I don't think I'm going to be very popular. I like this episode. I really do like this episode, but I do think there was opportunity for more. I don't like the discussion about golf. One, I don't know anything about it. There was a joke right at the beginning that I just think I don't get it. I love the way that Endora appears in her first scene. You know she's about to come in. You can feel it, but how she comes in that particular bit is when she arrives on the sofa as Darren's just about to sit down. I think that's really quite funny.
My dear child, how are you?
Going back to Darren, I mean, I love Dick Sargent. I think he's brilliant. I don't know whether I think he's better than Dick York, but that's another debate. I just think a lot of his lines were quite lame. I didn't like all the repetitive excuses he had to give Larry in at the end of near the end of the episode of why Samantha was behaving the way she was.
Now, what's the matter with her? Well, when Sam gets nervous and starts sounding mad, she usually takes a little nip or two to give her confidence.
But again, there are so many good bits in it. I love the fact that Serena's in it, but I still think that there could have been more to it. So yeah, shall I leave now?
Usually you say, "Oh, I just loved it," and I didn't realize you could be so vicious. Okay, how about June?
Well, I think this episode, there are so many funny moments, of course, when she's dancing in the store.
I tried to get Larry, but his line is busy. What are you doing?
I think I'm dancing.
I don't know why it really struck me so funny is when her burnt canapes, she was feeding it to them, and she said, or the one woman was like, "Oh, you can't even notice hardly at all that they're burnt." And it just struck me really funny. It was really cute.
Oh, thank you. I'm afraid they're a little scorched. It's the first time it's happened. It makes me so angry I could cry.
My dear, they're not that scorched.
Oh, why, you can barely tell that they're burnt.
The one thing that just really made me mad, though, I was like, yeah, Larry is going to fire Darren because his wife screwed up one little meeting and said, "You're fired," after all the years he's been there. It's like, listen here, Mr. Larry. So anyway, it was very cute.
Yeah, but how many times did Larry fire Darren over stupid things and then just hire him back again?
Exactly. It's like, why was Darren even worried about that? But it was fun.
Okay, how about you, David?
So I love this episode. It's in my top 10, and I love Serena's one of my all-time favorites, and so this is a Serena-heavy episode, and she's absolutely hysterical. I always love it when Endora pops in at the Cosmos Cotillion or wherever they're at, and she's asks her what's wrong or why she's so upset, and she says, "Because now I won't have anything to do this afternoon."
You really surprised me, Serena. Crying because the silly warlock ran out on you?
I'm not crying because he ran out on me.
Then why are you?
Because now I don't have anything to do this afternoon.
And then, well, I'm trying to think. I love it when she's like Liz acts drunk. She reminds me so much of Carol Burnett, and especially when in that line when she says, "I'd like to thank you both."
You know, you've been very good to me, and I'd like to thank you both.
I also wonder why Tabitha and Adam aren't in this episode. I think it would have been funny for Darren to try to explain to Tabitha why her mommy's so drunk or so weird. But overall, I think it's a great episode. I loved the Corsican brothers spell. I love the witch's joy juice. I think Liz looks absolutely fantastic as Serena. But that's about it.
Okay. How about you, Anna?
Well, I'm not a fan of Serena. No, I'm sorry. I think she's one note. She's just always the same to me. She always has the same tone of voice. And one of the things that makes the show so charming is, I mean, other than in Dora, the people feel, Samantha feels like a real person. That's one of the things that makes her so lovable, a real person with these unusual skills. And Serena always sounds to me like a non-actress that wound up there for the day. So yeah, I'm sorry. So I love the fashion in this episode. Liz has this great paisley dress, and the ladies that come to visit just have these gorgeous outfits, and you can tell that they're dated. They're almost like 50s, but they have this incredible fabric. So that's kind of my favorite thing about this episode. And I actually think Darren's lines are pretty funny. So we have every opinion here.
Yeah. We wonder why Pandora's Spock's never worked again after Bewitched. How about Novell?
So this actually is one of my favorite episodes from the Sergeant years, especially in season 7. Like David said, anything with Serena in an episode is probably going to be one of my all-time favorite episodes of the series, because that's one of my favorite characters on the show. And I like the fact that he said that this was a Serena-centric episode, well, Serena-heavy episode, especially for the mere fact that Serena didn't even interact with any of the others in the show. She was still up there in the Cosmos Cotillion having the spell on her, and she wasn't anywhere near Sammy or Ding Dong, anywhere down there at 1164 Morning Glory Circle. So I thought that was interesting. I thought that the dancing in the store and in the car were probably the highlight of that episode for me. I love seeing Liz dancing in the store and in the car on the way back to the house, and seeing Liz play drunk was sheer brilliance. It was absolutely phenomenal watching that play out, and incredibly comical. And I love the fact that the running gag was used at the end for when something happens to where Darren's job is saved again after a possible firing from Larry Tate. His response is always, "I'm married to a witch."
Come on, Sam. Tell me the truth. How did you find out about it?
Larry, don't tell anybody, but I'm married to a witch.
Premonition, huh?
So this was just an overall fun, entertaining episode. I loved this spell. I loved seeing Serena's actions in Sammy. So I personally rank it up there in my top 5. Definitely one of my top 5 shows.
Okay, thanks, Novell. How about Susan?
Okay. I always get this episode confused with the Battle of Burning Oak and Samantha's Lost Weekend, because they have some similarities, between the snobby country club people and the embarrassing yourself in the grocery store. I see some similarities. I get them confused. But I love this episode. I just think Elizabeth Montgomery is brilliant. She's just amazing. And the way she conveys all those different parts. And even when she's doing something as Serena, the way it manifests itself as Samantha is different. It's, there's drunk Serena and then there's drunk Samantha. They're not exactly the same. And I think that takes a lot of skill to be able to nuance that like that. I did a little research on this episode because I wanted to find out where some of these things come from. And I found out that Corsican Brothers was made into a movie in 1941 with Douglas Fairbanks, but it was also made into a movie in 1984 with Cheech and Chong. Who knew? That it could have a pedigree like Douglas Fairbanks and then Cheech and Chong. And the other thing was Kickapoo Joy Juice.
Ooh, the Kickapoo Joy Juice.
I knew that had to have some basis in something, and it comes from Little Abner. And it's a drink that's similar to Mountain Dew, which I think Mountain Dew ripped off Kickapoo Joy Juice. It's still sold, but mostly in Asia. And one last thing is that in the grocery store, you see Herbie, the stand-in, who's in every episode all the time. He and Melody are chatting in the supermarket, and then immediately when they go to get in the car, they go home, he's the chauffeur for Mrs. Langley. And I thought that was pretty funny that he was able to change gears that fast and get into a whole different part of the show.
All right, Sue. All right. How about Taylor?
So I did also some research on this episode. Just sort of try to bring a historian's perspective to it. And what I was really struck by is how literary the show is. I think probably in service to Agnes Moorehead wanting to have a reputable career. But The Corsican Brothers is actually a novella written by Alexandre Dumas. And it is about conjoined twins who are separated but continue to feel each other's feelings. And so I thought that, that's a great literary reference there that I wouldn't have understood any more than I understood the golf joke. And I also looked, the other thing that really struck me is that in 1970, when this airs, one of the most significant cultural conversations happening at that time would be feminism. And so what's really fascinating to me about this episode is that there is a Betty Friedan analog in Endora. And there's some research written about this, about the way that the show is actually engaging with the cultural conversation that was the feminine mystique. But particularly the moment when Endora says, "Can't you see what that feeble excuse of a husband is doing to you? He's turning you into a live-in maid, an unpaid cook, and a babysitter." And so what I think is really fascinating about Bewitched, and particularly this episode, is the way that the show is continuing to engage in that conversation in a sort of wink, wink, fun way, without falling into the trap of aligning itself for or against some of the things that Friedan was discussing. So I thought that was really interesting in terms of the way that the show is both accessing and engaging with culture.
Can't you see what that feeble excuse for a husband is doing to you? He's turning you into a live-in maid, an unpaid cook, and a babysitter, and now he's forcing you to submit to the environment of a country club.
All right. How about Mike?
Well, I already mentioned some stuff in my opening, but as much as I like this episode, I have so many problems with it. Just storyline-wise, it's a mess. First thing I want to say, get to Max's point about the golf talk. Whenever they do that, it confuses me. And this was also an episode where they got an account because of a golf game, not because their ads were any good, but just like in Bogies and Baxter, I can't remember the name of it, but interesting thing about that one, Birdies, Bogies, and Baxter, that's what it is. Interesting thing is Larry shows up in the cardigan that Darren is wearing in that episode. What was the other thing? Taylor mentioned the whole thing about she's just a live-in maid and you should live like Serena. And it's like, yeah, she's a maid, she's a cook, she's a babysitter, she's a mom. What does Endora want Samantha to do? Just like ditch the kids? That's what it sounds like to me. The reason this episode works, as long as you don't think about it too much, is because of Elizabeth Montgomery and her amazing performance, not just as Samantha, but as Serena. Susan said there's really a delineation, especially when one is acting through the other, and this is a constant. It's not just in this episode, but it's what makes it so much fun, and Serena really, really sells the entire thing. And if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't have this.
Wow. Okay. Last but not least, Justin.
This was a good episode. Matt's mentioned the way Endora entered, and that's probably my favorite entrance Endora made. popping on the couch when Darren's about to sit down. That was hilarious. Also, another comment about this episode is what a good actress Elizabeth Montgomery was. She was so different as Samantha and Serena, and like a couple of other people mentioned, even Samantha as Serena was different. Overall, this was a good episode.
All right. Well, thanks, Justin. So I guess now I'll give my comments on this episode again. This is my second favorite episode of the entire series. My all-time favorite is Serena Stops the Show. This is my second favorite. I guess I just love Serena episodes. And I don't really know what it is about this one. I think it's just that it's just so much fun. Like everybody said, Liz looks great. Everybody looks great in this episode. Liz looks great as Samantha. Serena looks awesome as Serena. Even Agnes Moorehead, I think Agnes Moorehead looks so good in this episode. It's just fun. The one thing that everybody's mentioning about her dancing in the supermarket, but I don't know. It's more like hopping. When she had to dance, she just always seemed like she had these strange dances that she did. At least as Samantha. As Serena, she more like danced kind of normally, but as Samantha, she just always had these weird little dances, and it just looks like she's like hopping like a bunny or something in the supermarket. But I just love this episode. I always have, and I just think it's awesome. I see Serena has joined us here on the panel. Serena, do you have any comments about this?
Well, it sounded like it was going to be a ball, but it's turned into a real bummer.
Well, that's too bad. But thank you for joining us, Serena. Okay, so now let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Hello everyone, this is Martin from Quebec City, Canada, wishing Bewitched a very happy 56th anniversary.
"56 years ago this week, on Thursday, September 17th, 1964, Bewitched premiered at 9 p.m. Eastern and Pacific on the ABC television network. An instant hit and the network's biggest hit to date, Bewitched was the #2 show for the entire 1964-65 television season according to the AC Nielsen ratings. Bonanza was the #1 show. Bewitched, the most popular and longest running of all the fantasy sitcoms of the 60s, would last 8 seasons and produce 254 episodes. Today's sitcoms, which now average about 22 episodes or less per season, would have to run at least 12 years to achieve that number of episodes. During its 8-year run, the series received a total of 22 Emmy nominations, including 6 for Elizabeth Montgomery for Best Actress in a Comedy Series, and 3 wins, which were William Asher for Outstanding Directorial Achievement in a Comedy in 1966, and posthumous awards for Alice Pierce as Best Actress in a Supporting Role in 1966, and Marion Lorne in 1968 in the same category. The series would also turn Elizabeth Montgomery into a television icon. Since its premiere in 1964, Bewitched has never been off the air and remains popular to new generations around the world through syndication, cable networks, streaming services, and home video. We'll continue to be enchanted for generations to come. Happy 56th anniversary.
Twitch Talk will be back in a moment.
Y'all bored at home? You got nothing to do? The Bewitched history book will come to your rescue. With over 700 pages of info and fun, you won't want to put it down until the day is done. If you're a true Bewitched fan, then all we can say is get online and order yours today.
Everyone on Twitch Talk would like to wish Bewitched a very happy anniversary. Happy 56.
Happy 56.
Anniversary.
Getting together for a few good laughs, the kick of adventure, a quiet moment to share a song. That's part of the fun of life. We've got a lot to share. Let's get together. Let's get together. We've got a lot to share. We've got a lot to share.
Hi, I'm Peter, coming to you from Salem, Massachusetts by the House of the Seven Gables. I want to wish Samantha and Bewitched a happy 56th anniversary of the show, and also a happy 50th anniversary of the Samantha visit to Salem in 1970, and happy 15th anniversary of the Samantha statue at Lapham Park in Salem. Have a good day, everyone.
And now, back to Twitch Talk.
Well, welcome back to Twitch Talk. And before we move on to the reviews and ratings, Susan has got her Serena on today, and she's wants to show off her little beauty mark. So, what is that, Susan?
It's a heart. That's my favorite Serena beauty mark, the heart.
I love it.
Okay, so now we'll go on and we'll do our reviews and ratings. So we're going to go through each member of the panel, and we're going to just kind of give a brief review of the episode and then rate it. We go from 1 to 4 stars. 1 being the worst, 4 being the best. And then we'll go back at the end and we'll average it out and see what the overall rating is for this episode. So let's start with Max.
So, I feel that I might have been a bit harsh before, but I didn't point out, like you already have, that Elizabeth Montgomery's acting is absolutely amazing. And when I was a kid, I always thought that her as playing Serena was a different actress, which we've already mentioned. I would say that I would give it a 3, which I think is quite reasonable, because I love an episode with Serena in it. It's not my favourite, but it's definitely a good episode.
All right. How about you, June?
Well, I really want to give it a 4 because it was just so much fun. And I love seeing Serena dance in the club with those men, those handsome devils. So, yes, I'm going to give it a 4.
Okay. David?
I am also going to give it a 4 because it has so many great lines, and of course it's a Serena episode, and pretty much every Serena episode is 4 stars. So, 4 stars.
Anna?
Oh man, okay, don't hate me, you guys, but I am gonna give it a 2. It just doesn't have the same fabulous writing as some of the other episodes. And as I said before, I just find Serena to be pretty one note. But the fashion is fabulous in this episode.
Okay, Novell.
I'm gonna give it a 3. Anything with Serena is amazing to me already. She's one of my favorite characters. It was just a fun episode where you didn't have to worry about a catch to it. It was just fun to watch straight through. And Elizabeth Montgomery was just amazing in both parts in this episode. So I'm definitely giving it a 3.
Okay. And Susan.
All right, I love this episode, and solely based on the strength of Elizabeth Montgomery's acting, I give it a 4.
All right. Taylor.
So cheers for this episode, having great drunk Samantha. Actually, Elizabeth plays drunk pretty well. There's a lot of verisimilitude in the role. Having said that, I don't like this episode very much, even though it has great Google ability, very literary, very interesting engagements with the Betty Friedan movement. I am going to give it a 2, at the risk of not ever being invited back.
Just racking up those demerits, aren't you? Mike.
Hey, this is still a democracy, no matter what the mortal world might say. I wanted to mention that, like Justin was mentioning, when I was a kid, I actually thought Elizabeth and Pandora were 2 separate actresses, which just tells you how good Elizabeth was. And for me, she's really what makes this episode. It's just, she makes it so much fun. The details are all over the place, and yes, I want to be entertained, but as a writer, I have to pay attention to that kind of stuff. So, although I would give it a 2, because of Elizabeth Montgomery's bravura performance, I will give it a 2.5.
All right. And Justin.
This episode, it's good. It's not my top 25%. I think Mark, you and I have both loved Bewitched, but it seems like our favorite episodes don't coincide. That's okay. I mean, this episode was decent, but because of Elizabeth Montgomery's great performance as Samantha and Serena, I will up it to 3 stars.
Well, more than I expected. All right, well, again, I love this episode. It's my second favorite episode. I just love it. It's just fun, and I love it, and it gets a 4 for me. So, now that everybody has given their review and their rating, we calculate this out, and we come up with... .15. So we're going to give this one 3 stars. If nobody has any more questions or comments, then we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Julien from Paris, wishing Bewitched a very happy 56th birthday.
Gentlemen, people love classic TV. And what's more classic than Bewitched? But in the 60s, audiences didn't demand the same level of continuity that we expect today. So how to make sense of 8 seasons of Bewitched? The Bewitched Continuum, the only book to compare and contrast all 254 episodes, along with witch illnesses, top 10s, and more. It's the ultimate linear guide. And the slogan? The Bewitched Continuum. Come feel the magic.
Now available on Amazon.com.
Happy 56th birthday from Sweden, Bewitched.
Join us next time on Twitch Talk when we discuss episode number 29, Abner Cadabra.
Hi, this is Lauren from Charlotte, North Carolina, wishing Bewitched a very happy 56th anniversary. My own Peekapoo Joy Juice. Here's to you, Bewitched.
All right, well, welcome back to Twitch Talk, and we're all enjoying our Witch's Joy Juice.
Pretend it's George.
We're gonna wrap things up, and I want to thank everybody for being here. I want to thank my co-hosts David and Mike. Do either of you have anything that you want to say before we wrap it up?
Just stay tuned for the next episode, and thanks everybody for joining us.
Mark, you've been very good to me. And I'd like all the viewers of Twitch Talk.
All right. Well, on that note, I want to thank Max, June, Anna, Novelle, Justin, Susan, and Taylor. And best Twitches. See you next time.
Happy 56 to all you Bewitched fans. It's wonderful. Look how young I look. Being a warlock is great. This is Adam Stevens saying, be safe.